With the release of new gear sets and reworks of old ones, I found myself using gear set builds more and more. So, in this video, I'm going to go over my current top 3 gear set builds in Tom Clancy's Division 2 and what I use each for. First, a thank you to my supporters over on Patreon, more on how you can support at the end of the video. Hello and welcome, I'm Abrax. My usual builds in the Division 2 are usually different variations of all red high-end builds focusing on damage and stacking the right attributes, but lately I found myself using gear sets more and more, with some of them offering unique and powerful playstyles you just can't replicate with normal high-end gear. In this video I'm going to give you my 3 gear set builds that I use for my 3 favourite types of farming. Starting with my very favourite way of farming, heroic control points, and for this I bust out the trusty Heartbreaker build. Heartbreaker offers solid damage with great survivability, as long as you play into its use of the pulse, highlighting enemies and allowing Heartbreaker to start stacking. Fully stacked, this build starts hitting around 1.4 mil crit headshots and makes seriously short work of heroic control points. The gear for this build uses the Heartbreaker mask, chest, gloves and knee pads, each with weapon damage and crit chance for the minor attribute. This of course gives us the 2-piece gear set bonus of 15% AR and LMG damage, the 3-piece of 15% weapon handling, and the 4-piece Heartstopper bonus. Weapon hits on pulsed enemies add a stack of 1% bonus armor and 1% damage to pulsed enemies, up to a max of 50 stacks. 2 stacks are lost each second. Using the chest piece gives the build the max BPM talent that increases the stacks for Heartstopper from 50 to 100. The holster I'm using is a Cheska holster for the 1-piece brand set bonus of 10% crit chance, and for the attributes I have weapon damage, crit chance and crit damage. Finally, for the backpack I am running the exotic Memento. This thing is an all-around beast of an exotic, giving the build one of each core attributes and a talent that buffs weapon damage, skill efficiency and adds bonus armor when you pick up trophies dropped by a killed enemy. And a final note, for all 3 mod slots I have crit damage. For the weapons I am running Kingbreaker with damage to targets out of cover for the 3rd attribute, and of course it comes with perfect flatline, the talent that gives us 20% amplified damage to pulsed enemies. The secondary is an ACS-12 with damage to targets out of cover and flatline. It's this weapon's job to build stacks, something it does very well. And for the spec I am using Technician for the extra skill tier and the linked laser pointer, which pulses enemies you point your weapon at, pretty much making sure that we are taking full advantage of the Heartbreaker gear set. The laser pointer fits perfectly on both the Kingbreaker and the ACS-12. For the skills I'm using the Crusader shield, which takes advantage of the spec's free skill tier, plus the skill tier and armor core of the Memento backpack, giving us a skill tier 3 shield without having to sacrifice any weapon damage. And the second skill is the Scanner Pulse. This isn't really needed with the linked laser pointer, but when running control points, I find it helps me keep a beat on everything that's happening around me, with the added benefit of pre-pulsing enemies for Heartbreaker. This build was born to take on heroic control points, move in with a pulse, build stacks with the ACS-12, then reap the rewards with Kingbreaker. It's fun, heavy hitting, and a must-have in your loadouts. Next up, my current heroic mission farming build, and this one is a little odd, so you will have to bear with me. When it comes to running heroic missions, I am currently using an all blue core striker. I know, me? All blue core build? Weird one, right? I actually have a few different striker builds, from all red glass cannon to more hybrid setups. But honestly, this thing is the coziest build I've used. Odd way to describe a build, but you cruise through heroic missions without a care in the world, doing pretty good damage for a 0 red core build, but with a consistent, strong self-repair. Alright, hopefully that convinces you that I haven't just gone mad. Let's talk a bit about the build. This was actually a striker build I put together a while ago for a video when I was trying to replicate the good old striker of the Division 1 in the Division 2. After the video, I wasn't sure if I'd be keeping this one, but to be honest, the more I used it, the more it kind of grew on me. Now, if I have to run a mission a few times for some loot with some YouTube on the other monitor, this is kind of a go-to build for me. Alright, the build. The gear is made up of 4 pieces of striker, including the chest and backpack. This gives the build the 2, 3 and 4 piece bonuses of 15% weapon handling, 15% rate of fire, and Striker's Gamble. Weapon hits increase total weapon damage by 0.65%, stacking up to 100 times. 1 stack lost per second between 0 and 50 stacks, 2 stacks lost per second between 50 and 100 stacks. Using the chest and backpack gives us a few extra talents. We get our max stacks increased to 200, with 3 stacks lost between 100 and 200 from the chest, and damage per stack goes from 0.65 to 1% from the backpack. The holster is a Bellstone holster with crit chance and damage, but the real reason I've gone for Bellstone is the 1 piece bronze set bonus of 1% armor regen, giving the build a nice constant trickle of armor. The knee pads are the named Murakami knee pads, the Emperor's Guard. My rolls on these aren't really ideal, but I've not had a chance to farm a better pair yet, but what I really want is that unique attribute of 1% armor regen, taking the build up to 2%. For the attributes across the build, I've tried to push it as close to 60% crit chance as possible, then put the rest into crit damage. The weapons, of course, I'm running an ACS 12, but this is the named ACS 12 Rock and Roll for the 15% mag capacity, and I've rolled Rate of Fire for the third attribute to help build those stacks fast to help us get all the way up to 200. The primary is a FAMAS with damage to targets out of cover as the third attribute, and Preservation for the talent. Quirky, right? This adds a huge amount of self-healing on kill, especially if you're getting headshot kills. Add that to the 2% armor regen, and you've got a pretty damn good self-heal going. The spec here is Gunner, and the skills are the classic combo of the Crusader Shield and the Revive Hive. I can already hear people taking to the comments about running an all-red striker build, blah blah blah, but like I said, I actually have a few different striker builds, including an all-red glass cannon, and nothing is quite as chilled as this one to run. Plus, it gives me a really nostalgic classified striker feel from the Division 1, which is something I just really enjoy. And finally, I am a big fan of farming resource convoys when I want to farm a bit more XP, whether that's for SHD levels or a seasonal event. With convoys, speed is key. That's why my go-to is the Umbra Initiative gear set. With the right weapons, the RPM this gear set puts out is crazy, making it perfect for mincing weaker mobs as they try to climb out of their manholes. For this, I've been running Umbra using the mask, chest, holster and gloves for the 2, 3 and 4 piece bonus of 15% crit chance, 30% reload speed, and the multi-talent from the shadows and into the light. These talents are super wordy, and we all know how Umbra works, but just in case you're new, I'll give you a quick simplified overview. Being out of cover, build stacks that you can use when you enter cover that repair your armor. While you're in cover, you build stacks that increase your RPM and crit damage when you're out of cover, giving you a gameplay loop of do damage out of cover, repair armor in cover. Simple. Using the chest piece increases the max stacks and stacks gained while in cover, giving the build more crit damage and a faster RPM when at full stacks. For the backpack, I am using a Fenris backpack with weapon damage, crit chance, and more crit chance in the mod slot. For the backpack, I'm using a Fenris backpack with weapon damage, crit chance, and crit damage with more crit chance in the mod slot, and I'm using Vigilance for the talent. For the knees, I have Fox's Prayer knee pads with weapon damage and crit damage, and like the striker build for the attributes, I've tried to push as close to 60% crit chance as possible, leaving the rest to go into crit damage. For the weapons, I wanted RPM, so I have the FAMAS with damage to targets out of cover for the third attribute, and Ranger for the talent. I decided to land on Ranger because this weapon is going to be my ranged weapon, so Ranger helps negate the drop-off at range. And the secondary, I have the named vector Dark Winter. This thing, with Umbra, is unbelievable. I have damage to targets out of cover for the third attribute, and it comes with perfect killer for the talent. And just like Striker, I have the classic combo of Crusader Shield and Revive Hive for the skills, and Gunner for the spec. This build is all about fast RPM and mob clearance, so you move in, get into cover to build those stacks, and burn down the NPCs from wherever they're trying to spawn from. Great fun to use, and very effective. Although for me, each of these 3 builds have a go-to use, it's not to say that all 3 won't do pretty much anything I want from them depending on my mood. Sometimes I like to take Heartbreaker or Umbra into missions, if the moment takes me. So get out there, give the builds a go, and let me know what you think in the comments below. And while you're down there, why not give the video a like and subscribe for future Division 2 content. As always, a massive thank you to my supporters over on Patreon for helping me make this channel the best it can be. If you would like to join them, you can support the channel for as little as £1 a month. You'll find a link to the Patreon in the description below. Have a great day, and I will catch you in the next one.